Hey guys, my name is Hennon. Today we're going to be reviewing two Ted Bundy films. The first one being Ted Bundy, A Legacy of Evil, and then the second one, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, the one with Zac Efron.
Yeah.
Roll it.
Hi, my name is Ruby.
Hi, my name is Sidney.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
And this is Lights, Camera, Reaction. The first film, it'll take you into depth of the killings. It'll show you the real colors of Ted Bundy, not just his persuading side. He's not all charm, you know, he's got the evil wickedness to him, the beating girls over the side of the head with blunt objects. That tended to be his favorite weapon of choice. He's not a man for knives or guns. He likes the good old blunt object and impact force.
The first movie started out with him and his girlfriend, and it kind of showed him in a more innocent light, in a more romantic light, and kind of introduced him as a normal person and showed his day-to-day life. And then as the movie went on, it kind of revealed his secrets and revealed like his, I guess you could say he was two-faced, and it revealed his other side and his evil side that you would not expect.
In contrast, the second movie kind of started off more of like a love story. There was zero, they showed none of the killings. They only kept it on him in his defense. You know, there was never any attacking Ted Bundy for what he did. There was never any pictures of horrific things of what he'd done. It was more of just, here's a guy, here's all the charges that are being pressed against him. You honestly don't think he's done any of them, because it just doesn't show that part of his life. It's more of him and his girlfriend, I think it was Liz in the movie. It was more of just a romantic story of them trying to make it. And later on in that movie, it turned into him just trying to win the court case, and honestly, you're rooting for him. You start feeling for him. You're like, you know, maybe he is innocent, and then the final ends of it, you know, he just admits to all of it, and you realize, holy crap, this is still Ted Bundy. Even though Zac Efron, he did do a really good job of making you try to feel for him. It is still Ted Bundy, he did do these things.
Yeah, and it showed him defending himself and him fighting for what he wanted people to believe. And it showed him being a lawyer and how his life started out and how he could have been so successful had he not been a serial killer. He could have been he had such a successful path towards success, and it all went down the drain. And he showed his talent and what he could do in the second movie, but it was all a waste. And even at the end of the movie, the judge who convicted him and who sent him to life and death said you could have been so amazing and you could have been a great lawyer, but you're just a killer.
It's a tragedy for this court to see. It's such a total waste, I think, of humanity that I've experienced in this court. You're a bright young man. You made a good lawyer. I'd love to have you practice in front of me, but you went another way, partner.
How do both films, they actually show his girlfriend in both of the films. How do those films differentiate with the way it portrays, you know, his life with Liz in the second film as opposed to his life in general in the first film?
In the first film, it started out very romantic. Both movies did. In the first film, as time went on, they kind of saw how when Ted got comfortable with Liz, he kind of went off the edge and she would see red flags, but she wouldn't take them into consideration because she loved him. And in the first film specifically, there was this one scene where they had broken up and she had talked about how immature he was, and she basically just ended things. And then as time went on, they met back up years later, and after he had done some crimes and they showed those scenes, he had proposed to her. and then went to the he did it at a dinner, and then he went to the bathroom, and she waited hours, and he never showed up, and it was out of revenge. So that kind of shows how he could fake his emotions so well, because it led up to the engagement, and you could see them bonding again and them getting back in touch, and he faked those emotions, and it was so easy for him to just propose to her and say, I'm in love with you, I love you, and then just walk away. So at that moment we could really see what he was made of and what he's capable of through his actions.
How does the soundtrack come into play in both films? How does it make the film itself stand out with what's going on in the film?
The soundtrack almost kind of, I don't want to say made a joke of, it made fun of the fact. Yeah. It was some brutal killing in the background, and you got daisies and roses on the soundtrack. In the first film there was more of the gore, but when the gore was happening, it was never just dark tones or anything like that. It was more of, montages, and montages in themselves are supposed to be pretty nonchalant. But they were just doing montages of him brutally doing these killings, and in the background, you got an upbeat song, just kind of keeping the positivity. And the only times the music would kind of shift is when he either got caught or he was in jail. So it was kind of just trying to keep up the whole mirage of him being a good guy.
In the first movie, it was kind of towards the end. I remember this specifically. When he was being charged with the death penalty, there was a song that was played, and the lyrics were along the lines of, I'm a free man, I'm free, as he was getting the death penalty in life. And I thought that was really ironic, because it's kind of showing how he's not a free man because he doesn't deserve to be, but everyone else is free except for him. And even though he's fighting so hard and trying to convince people so much that he doesn't deserve this and he didn't do it. So it's big.
How do you feel about the way third parties are portrayed in both films?
Third parties are portrayed as sort of, especially the female third parties were definitely, I wouldn't say as dramatic as brainwashed, but definitely in a trance, or they're kind of misled, and they're kind of in awe of him for they put his looks before everything, and just the way he speaks and the way he talks about law and the way he portrays himself versus how he really is. The women all kind of let him convince him that he was innocent.
I feel in the second film, so you know how he ran away and stuff. I feel maybe if he just would have stayed, it kind of would have showed people that he's not as guilty. Just running away multiple times and getting away with it kind of shows how guilty he is with the crime.
I think maybe him running away could have. In my opinion, I would say the opposite, because him running away and escaping is I don't deserve this. Why am I locked up? I'm trying to fight for my freedom because I deserve freedom. I'm being tortured for no reason. I don't deserve this. He's kind of saying, kind of feeling emotional. I don't need this. And he's kind of fighting for himself. But then again, it makes his case worse in the long run, and he's gonna get more time, and he's gonna make everything worse by running. So it didn't help. He's just too cocky to understand that he would get caught. I'm assuming he thought he wouldn't get caught, but after 6 days, he got caught. He's just very arrogant and thinks that everything will happen the way he wants and the way he thinks it will.
In most scenarios, he made his position worse, because when he first got arrested, he was getting held. He had access to an office. He could call Liz 24/7. There was no real problems, but he took his chance and ran away from that. And coming back, he got put in solitary. There was nothing he could do at that point except continue to try to escape, so he kind of dug his own hole.
He really did get a lot of privileges. While being in jail at the beginning.
Why? Do you think why?
He got to use a library. I think the main reason that he had these privileges was because he was in a lawyer or going to be a lawyer, and he was this kind of, not necessarily privileged, but in that day and age probably so, even though he came from like a single family home and didn't have much money, he was still considered to be privileged. And that, on top of trying to be a lawyer and trying to work for potentially the government or the city, that could have a big impact on why he was able to have books and access the phone more frequently and have that sort of freedom and not have to be watched as much, because he did show this kind of caring side of him that actually like protested his innocence. And I guess people believed it and kind of gave him special privileges that definitely no other serial killer would get. But those were all taken away eventually because of him escaping is really when it started to decrease.
So how does each film affect the way you see or what you know about Ted Bundy?
There was, it kind of, like, as it went on, as I said, it kind of showed more and more red flags and more little hints at why he could actually be guilty. And in the second one, it kind of romanticized him and fought for his innocence. But then in the end, it kind of like, he admitted and it ended in like him being killed, and the facts of like it had a list of all of his the known victims. And like in the end, it kind of described the horrific, like how horrific it was. And so like they were different they kind of plotted out his life and his emotions and how he affected other people differently.
I think in like both films, like they show like they both like show how people were so attracted to him, and it makes you wonder like would things go different if he was like, you know, ugly and short and fat.
I mean, the whole thing where he got privileged with the library and the thing like that, I think maybe that was because they weren't 100% if it was true or not. He did say, I mean, at that point he did have a pretty strong thing that he was innocent. When he escaped, they kind of thought, oh yeah, he wouldn't be running away unless he was guilty of this. So that's why I think.
And if you run, you usually only run if you think you're not gonna win.
And he wouldn't win if he was guilty.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that.
How did you like each film, and which one would you think portrayed him more
I think.
justly, I guess?
Go ahead.
I think the first one was better because it showed how much of a terrible person he was, but the second one is quite interesting because it makes him human. And didn't that one get like controversy for not showing that? And I think that's mainly because people don't want to accept that he's human and that he's, you know, actually a person who lived, that he's, you know, like they want to think that he's just this terrible monster that has no soul at all, and that he's just is constantly like killing people for all of this. So
I agree that the first movie portrayed him better, for like they showed all the scenes or more scenes of the crimes he committed, and they showed his face in it, and they showed that he was the one who did it. But then they would have it like flip to his love life or his family life or his like personal interactions on a day-to-day life versus at night the crimes, and it kind of like bounced back, and so you could kind of see both sides of him. So I think the first one did a better job because the second one definitely romanticized him.
I don't know, I like the second one. I thought it was funny how like even on like death row, he's like about to get sentenced to death. He's still messing around with the judge, making jokes, and really just like keeping light of the whole thing. And I don't know, I thought it was funny. It was like he was getting his indictment read to him, and he was like messing around with the guy, and it was really funny.
So, as we watched the movies, we really got to see how Ted Bundy was and what he was capable of and how that affected society. And I really enjoyed both movies. Did y'all enjoy both movies? Which one was your favorite?
2.
2.
Wicked.
Because of
Evil.
Zac Efron.
2.
Yeah, you know, just Zac Efron. It was just funnier.
Yeah, I
Good comic gold.
I wish they were both, like, if they were, like, both of them, like, if both of them were in one film together, like, they had both aspects that I really liked, but then they both had aspects that I didn't really like. But if they mixed them together, I think I would say yeah.
Thanks for watching.
This has been Lights Camera Reaction on the Couch. It's gonna be the new series On the Couch. We're adding a little extra. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.